Listen up! There is a storm coming! Like nothing you have ever seen!
Hello, folks. Guess what arrived in the mail? I don't know. I quite like this. I think I could do the show more like this quite often. I want to thank Danny Vitz for doing what is an amazing caricature of me. Thank you so much for what you've done. I love it. I'm going to use it in all sorts of different places. So Danny sent me some website details, and if you're interested in caricatures, then that seems to be what she does, and does them pretty well. Not me, does this bloke really well. I mean, how cool is that? Pretty flash little version. The resemblance is uncanny. I just want to say that. Absolutely uncanny. And let's just see. I'll try and position myself. Oh, a bit short. There you go. Try that. Oh, if I turn the light on, maybe it might help. There you go. Close but no cigar. How are you, folks? Thank you very much, Danny. Just love that. Beautiful. Really appreciate it. If you were interested in getting a caricature done for yourself, then by the sounds of it, Danny can do them off screenshots by the look of it, because we've never spoken, we've never met. It just turned up in the email. So thank you very much. Also, thank you very much last night to the people of the Gold Coast. I've got to say, it was an amazing night last night, with so many people turning up for the first My Place Gold Coast meeting. Now, what to expect out of a number one My Place meeting? Well, I would have to say the biggest thing that you can get out of a night like that is meeting more people just like you. And I think that's exactly what happened last night. We had a lot of people who sort of turned up, didn't know each other, all came with different ideas of what's going on and what they want to see going forward in life, the universe, and everything. And then, oops, let me just mute that so I can just make sure that everything's working. Right. So, yeah, we don't want to, it's not there to tell your life story. It's there to try and figure out which page of the book you're on. And last night, 80 odd people sat around, got informed about some really, really interesting things that are going on the Gold Coast and the people who are behind them. Things like the movement behind us to get out of the World Health Organization. We're going to talk more about that in the not too distant future, because let's face it, we all need to be out of that. And can I tell you that there is something that I've only been told of today. Let me try and find the appropriate thing so I can name it correctly. The Codex Alimentarius. Now, that is something that Australia is signed up to. It is a UN food standards organization, and Australia has signed ourselves up to it, where the UN, something called the FIC and the WHO and the FAC and all sorts of other different acronyms, get to tell us exactly what we can and can't grow and how much we can and can't grow. In fact, they've actually, with Australian government approval, made it illegal for us to grow our own food. Yeah. Illegal for us to grow our own food. I've got to say, bloody amazing. I'm still finding the documentation to prove it, but everybody I was speaking to just says the same thing. Yes, it's there and can be enforced at any time. So not necessarily the kind of thing we're looking for at the moment. It goes hand in hand with the bullshit of the last 3 years. And I think if you happen to be on the Gold Coast at the moment, a lot of the people who've made an awful lot of money out of us over the last 3 years, or our governments at least, of course, governments don't make money, they only get it from the people. So it's our money they've made. Right now, there is a very spectacular conference happening on the Gold Coast. Get a load of that one, folks. The APP conference. What the is an APP conference? Well, let me tell you, it's the Australian Pharmacy Professional Conference and Trade Exhibition. It's on right now at the Gold Coast Convention Centre. You can engage, you can explore, you can evolve, you can share lies and bullshit and maybe just laugh at how much money you've made over the last couple of years. All the big ones are there, Pfizer, Moderna, all that kind of crap. They are there. Shall we have a look at the program? Oh, that'll be interesting. The educational side of things. Conference forum, rural forum live streams, pharmacy guild immunization course. Like they need more help figuring out what to jab. The Pharmacy Guild offering 2 immunisation course options, full and refresher, just in case you've forgotten how to stick a needle in. Is that how that works? Or maybe it's a refresher course to remind you of the obligations you bastards have when you're administering something, to make sure that the person you're sticking it into has been fully informed of all the risks. So just seeing if there is anything there to talk about risk, ownership, operations and oversight, getting the pharmacy acquisition day to day. Yeah, great. All right, good for your sponsors. Let's not plug them too much. Oops, gone back a bit too far. Who's speaking at this event? Inflammatory bowel disease clinician and researcher. That would be one of the things that flares up after the jibbity jab. Hartley Atkinson, pain researcher. Well, Christ, mate, you've got a lot of people to pick from now, don't you? Senior lecturer for social work department. That's exactly what we need. More good speakers on social work from universities. University trained. Never had a real job, I'd wager, but, could be wrong. Postdoctoral research fellow, Centre for Research in Evidence-Based Practice. Oh, this will be the guy who's there to confirm the bullshit. Community pharmacist casino. Oh, God. Yeah, good on you, Kelly. And another community pharmacist, practitioner, teacher, graduate, Young Australian of the Year, the Hand in Hand Peer Support Group, Clinical Governance Committee. Now, that would be an interesting one, wouldn't it? The Clinical Governance Committee. Why don't you have a look into your obligations regarding who you jab, how you jab them, and what you tell them before you do so. And clearly, Pamela Bishop here, she runs a fairly large series of chemists, the Blooms, the Chemist Group. John Briggs Consultancy, the Community Pharmacists, they've got them right here, living amongst us. Principal Pharmacy, RSM Australia. Just wondering if we're going to get anybody from, the Minister for Health and Aged Care, Mark Butler's going to stand up and speak. Probably pat him on the back saying, yeah, great, you've cleaned out the oldies, now we're working on the rest. Which, interestingly enough, ATAGI have come out and said today that, maybe yesterday, that it's no longer desirable to jab under 5-year-olds. Just the under 5s, but no longer desirable to do that. Now, my question is for APRA, will they reinstate all the doctors that put forward that view that it was dangerous to inject 5-year-olds with the crap that they were pushing? So will APRA please reinstate the doctors who made their opposition to this known and lost their jobs for it? Because clearly the ATAGI advice is exactly what the doctors were saying. It's only now that after some pressure and a great deal of evidence from all around the world to the dangers, that they have relented on the under 5s. But the bastards are going to keep going with everybody else for as long as they can, bearing in mind that there are no mandates now. America's mandates come to an end on the 11th of May, so I don't know if the unjabbed are going to be allowed to fly into America after that, but it would suggest that could be the case. Fingers crossed, I would suggest. Now, you may have heard that Vladimir Putin has been charged under the International Criminal Court for crimes against humanity, something to do with stealing people off the streets and all that kind of crap. Here's what the Russians think about that. The decisions of the International Criminal Court have no meaning for our country, including from a legal point of view. Russia is not a party to the Rome Statute. Notice they call it the Rome Statute. There's a reason over and above the obvious for that. The Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court does not bear its obligations. How good is that? That's the Ruskies saying, jam your international court up your clacker. Good luck with it. Have you seen the interview with Avi Yemeni and the Aussie Cossack? Aussie Cossack from his, I don't know, 3rd, 4th, 5th floor balcony. Well, no balcony, just a window hanging off a brick wall. And Avi standing outside the gate. I think it was the back gate too. You can see the garages in the background where he was able to get a camera at least to see the Aussie Cossack from the window. They had a very interesting half an hour long conversation. Reasonably entertaining at times. Well done, boys. Avi asked some very serious questions, though, and Cossack, in his normal manner, managed to, get his answers out. He has applied for Russian citizenship. He's waiting for an answer on that. He, by the sounds of it, expects to be able to fly from a helicopter pad on the roof of the Russian embassy to the airport, assumedly, because I don't know a helicopter, not even a Russian one, that could fly him out of Australia and get to anywhere before it ran out of fuel. So it'd be flying him to the airport to catch an aircraft back to Mother Russia. He admitted today that he has always yearned to have Russian citizenship. I guess that's a family thing, a cultural thing for him, and I have no problem with people holding dual citizenship or anything like that. Good luck to him if that's what he wants to be able to do, and if he can do that, great. Is he a spy? Avi asked him all these questions. It's well worthwhile going and checking it out. It's on Avi's channel. There were a few harder questions. Cossack spoke guardedly about what's going on with his court case at the moment. When I say guardedly, I guess it's still in operation, so he may not have been able to tell us everything that's going on, but he certainly gave a good rundown of what's happened so far. He has been found guilty of assault and causing grievous bodily harm of the gentleman, the Ukrainian gentleman, who attacked him while he was doing a live stream. Now, Cossack draws a very good analogy between the attack, either the Cossacks' attack, if it's taken that way, and it seems to be. He's been found guilty in absentia. He hasn't been sentenced yet, but I don't think, but has been found guilty in absentia. So that's why he's staying inside the Russian embassy at the moment, because they want to lock him up, and then they want to backdate his parole, which is now finished. They want to backdate his parole and put him inside for another 6 months on top of that. And then, their whole plan is to keep him in jail for the next 12 months or so, and drop all the cases, or let him win on appeal in 12 months on this trumped up bloody charge. A charge he wasn't even made aware was going to be heard that day in court, and they rammed it through, and just meant that, the Aussie Cossack was pretty much trapped. They were going to arrest him one way or the other. So he's done all he could do to stay with his family, still be able to put his show on, and fight for his innocence. So good luck to him. Will he go to Russia? Yes, I am absolutely sure at some point he will go to Russia. Will he become a Russian citizen? Who knows? Good luck to him if he does. There are plenty of dual nationality citizens, including Avi Yemeni, here in Australia. Now, Avi did make that point. And I think Cossack tried to score one back, saying, well, hang on, you hold dual citizenship. Avi's idea was that, yes, you can only hold dual citizenship if the second nation, if you like, is a friendly or an allied country to Australia. I don't know that is the case, but probably would make a little bit of sense if it were. But at any rate, the Russians moving on regardless. Simeon fighting his way forth from the fifth floor apartment that he and Mrs. Cossack are sharing, and he will fight for his innocence. He'll stay there as long as it needs be. I have no doubt. If it all gets too much, I have equally no doubt that should Australian or Russian citizenship be offered, rather, then he will climb the other 6 flights of stairs to the roof of the building, whatever it is, and climb into the nearest helicopter and fly his way over to Kingsford Smith International under a diplomatic immunity or a diplomatic pass, and be flown out of the country. I'd expect that's how it would happen if it's going to happen. Although he does want to fight and clear his name, he doesn't want to have to go to jail for 10 months to do that. And I don't think that that's unrealistic on his behalf. If you have a look at the evidence on any scale of the elderly gentleman who ran up a set of stairs brandishing a flag with a pointed, end to it, and stuck that into the Aussie Cossack and was moving up in a threatening manner. Now, the Cossack didn't punch him, didn't hit him as such. He pushed him. He put his arm out in front of him, open palm. The fella ran into it. And because of, the nature of the attack, and more specifically the location of this elderly gentleman's attack on the Cossack, he fell backwards, missed the stairs that he was halfway running up, and managed to fall down those stairs and whack his head quite solidly on the ground. Now, that's not a good look, not a good thing. Very sad for the gentleman involved in that, and I do hope he recovered fully. But to blame the Aussie Cossack for that is outrageous. It was self-protection, in my opinion, and just about everybody else's. How would you justify a charge like the Aussie Cossack has been found guilty of when you view the Victorian police officer at Flinders Street Station who came up behind a gentleman that was being interviewed by a couple of other coppers, snuck up behind him, grabbed him in a bear-like hug, and then spun him around and threw him head first into the cement flooring of Flinders Street Station, doing a lot of damage to the gentleman concerned. Broken eye sockets, smashed jaw, smashed cheekbone. There were neck problems, I think. There were skull issues. It's amazing this guy lived. And what happened in a Victorian court when that police officer was brought up on charges recently? He was let off. I wonder if it was a jury trial. I bet it wasn't. I bet it was a trial held just in front of a judge. I bet. Now, if that were to be the case, how does the Aussie Cossacks charge and treatment stack up against that Victorian coppers? What levels of corruption are we dealing with, folks? It's staggering, the levels of corruption we are dealing with. And there are two examples in two states of it working its ass off at the highest levels. It is disgusting. Disgusting. Sad. And I'm sad that we have officers in uniform who will just blindly follow these orders. They don't have to. They actually have, they're supposed to have an oath to the people. They don't do that oath anymore. They make an oath to the corporation instead. So we do not count in that regard, which is, not good. Not good. But anyway, the Aussie Cossack is doing what he can. And all things being equal, I can't see him coming out of the embassy anytime soon, or the consulate rather anytime soon. And I can't see the police letting up anytime soon. They actually have a warrant out for his arrest because he's, got to be sentenced for an assault, and not just a normal assault. This is a assault with grievous bodily harm kind of shit. So, yeah, they want to get him in. That charge carries 5 years, and don't think for a second they won't give him the whole lot. He might get out a little bit earlier, but fact of the matter is he will appeal this, and he'll appeal all that from inside the Russian consulate. If he's got to live there for the next 10 years, that's where he'll stay. Sunflower, God love you. Thank you so much for your super sticker and all the support that you give me. Can't thank you enough. Now, I just want to brush back very quickly to the Gold Coast. Oh, Sandy's thrown one up too. Hello, Sandy Dallin. I hope you're well. In more ways than one. We have to get on the phone and have a little bit of a chat soon. We'll be coming down your way in the not too distant future. And we are also trying to get to South Australia. So there are some people in Coobapedi who are keen to get a show there. I know that there were some people, I think, in Whyalla. So get a hold of me, get a hold of Vince, either one of us. We will be coming to Mannum and doing a show in Mannum in South Australia. There are plans for a show down south in Victor Harbour or down that way on the Fleurieu Peninsula. And, of course, we'll do one in Adelaide. And Melbourne, well, Victoria, full stop. There are so many my places. that are kicking up all over the place down there that we will plan to stop in as many of them as possible. We've got invites from Geelong to Gippsland, from Mildura to Frankston, and quite, well, I don't know how many, huge number in between. So we'll try and stop at as many of them as possible. Obviously, there's not much point in us stopping at a night when there's no one there. So we won't be able to stop everywhere on this trip, but we will make every effort to stop at as many of them as possible. After last night on the Gold Coast, I was really rapt to see so many people coming up and just having a bit of a chat with complete strangers. It's working the same on the Gold Coast as it has in everywhere else it's been trialled. My Place brings people together, brings strangers together. I asked the question last night, how many people know their names of the next door neighbours? Now, not even half the audience put their hand up. In fact, decidedly less than half put their hand up. That's not a bad thing, but this is what we have to change. We have to, even if you feel like, well, no, I don't like them, or they're not this or they're not that. This is how we level up, folks. We have to learn to work through our differences. This is what My Place is all about. Everybody comes with a different idea of what My Place will be to them, and that's fine. If they want to bring along their particular passion, their particular hobby, their particular conspiracy bent, then that's great. They will find people within the group that will come and follow it with them, or they won't. That's just how it works out. They might also find in the group that there are other theories, other analysis going on that they would prefer to join in because they get a lot more input from a lot more people. So My Place not only begins the conversation, but exponentially educates the people in the group, from those who are deeper into the book to those who are just starting it. And that happens every night of a My Place meetup. It doesn't just happen on the first night. It happens every time My Place gets together, because there's always new people coming in, and they might have new information. Don't always assume somebody turning up to My Place for the first time is a normie and has no idea what's going on. There are people, very, very, very well educated people on our side of the fence that are traveling great distances and calling in ostensibly, on holidays passing through to My Places around Australia. These are people, you never know who you're meeting, right? These are people, in a lot of cases, that have a lot of information. They've got a lot of old contacts, got a lot of big webs. So you'd be surprised the people that can turn up, the strangers that can turn up in your My Place and sitting down having a quiet coffee or a beer, or walking around the market, buying some locally produced goods. You might be amazed what you can learn from folks like that. So just bear that in mind when it comes to My Place. Brilliant night last night on the Gold Coast, and they will be getting up another meeting in the near future, I'm sure. In fact, I think the Facebook page, My Place Gold Coast Facebook page, had 18 people and 9 possibles attending on the page last night, and we had over 80, I reckon, turn up, or certainly between 70 and 80 turn up last night. John Wilson came along. It was a marvellous night for him as well. He got to have a red wine, got to have a lovely meal, and got to meet a whole bunch of wonderful people who obviously respect John a great deal. And thanks to those folks who looked after him during the night as he waddled his way around and got things organised. Now, speaking of John, God love him, we've been talking about the log of claims for a long time. This is the log of claims we've been waiting on. It's hard for me to show you here, but we were waiting on a hard copy, and thanks to Rubes on the Gold Coast, bloody legend Rubes, they've printed this out. Now, this is the only copy of it in existence. John left it in my car last night. However, it is the proof, and I can show you, if you give me just a little second here, I might be able to show you a bit more. I probably need to bring it up on a page that I can see. All right, I can bring this up and show this to you without going too far. So this is the PDF version that you will be able to download, an Australian log of claims, the Kooka corruption and disruption, UN political and other vermin given the Kooka treatment, guaranteed. Now, this log of claims opens with the dramatic words, "A spectre is haunting Australia, the spectre of the Khazarian mafia and their central banking WEF cartels," and ends by stating, "Ordinary Australians of all races, colours and creeds have nothing to lose but their chains. We have a new world. It is ours to win. Australians and the peoples of all countries of the world unite." Now, I'm not going to show you any more because tomorrow is the day where John would like to release this. So John and I are going to catch up tomorrow, whether we do a live show from the venue we're going to catch up on, or we wind up pre-recording something and I play it back tomorrow night instead of the Friday night free-for-all. Remains to be seen. We'll just see what happens. We're still figuring that out, and we'll just check out what the day holds weather-wise. But tomorrow, from tomorrow evening, you'll be able to download a copy of that here, and there will also be an email address that you can send your comments to. Now, the log of claims is not set in concrete. This is a starting point. And without getting too much, or trying to steal too much of John's thunder, it is a way forward for all of us in the freedom movement if we choose to support it. Now, we're not saying everything is in there that needs to be supported. Maybe there's stuff in there that we got wrong. And when I say we, I mean John. It's ostensibly all John. It's up for discussion. All of it. Every bit of it is up for discussion. So that's what this is about. Getting this in front of you and letting you have a think about it, letting you have a talk about it amongst yourselves, amongst your friends, your family. Go to my place, have a talk to my place, around my place about it. I know that they have a lot of policies and a lot of things that they're putting in place. In fact, I spoke to Darren at length today on a few different matters, this being one of them. And I think you'll hear more from Darren about this and a few other things in the not too distant future too. We need your input for it to go any further. So take this email address down. You won't have anything to reply to it yet, but this is the first plug for it. So locfeedback@vofhq.com. Now, that'll be the feedback form. If you've got comments, and we want to hear all your comments, good, bad, indifferent. Trust me, nobody's going to feel personally attacked by anything you say here. And if there are trolls who want to come in and add their 2 cents worth, well, if they can be serious, if they actually have something serious to contribute, of course it will be considered. But if the trolls just find this too hard to understand, then they'll be dismissed in the usual fashion. I think the log of claims is a definite way forward for the freedom movement, folks. Whether or not it is the way forward, we'll wait and see, because it can't be the way forward unless every one of us agrees to it. It needs to be a document you'd be prepared to sign. So we need to get to that point. We need to get to the point where the document is something you would be prepared to sign. And if you won't sign it, we want to know why. Okay? Because if there are points in there that you don't agree with, maybe, there's something we can do to make it better. Have we missed something? Has the language used not been clear enough? There could be a myriad reasons for it. All we're saying is everything is open for discussion. So the easiest way to open that discussion is once you've seen the document and downloaded it, had a time to read it. It's not a long document. It won't take you long to read. There are, let me have a quick look. I think there are 12 points from memory. I could be wrong. Well, yeah, I am. I'd say there's about 12, but that's only because they seem to be broken down, or they are broken down into more complex and more enlightening or more defining paragraphs later in the document. But the document will explain who's behind it, who's organising it, what it's all about, what are we asking for, and then we'll go into further explanations of each of the points of the things that we're asking for. And then there is a closing statement, and then there is a bit that John's written in only the way that John can, on the National Log of Claims. It's well worth a read, and he is looking forward to hearing what you have to say about it. At the bottom of the document, there is a QR code and, of course, John's email address. You can send it directly to him. But if you would like to comment through Voice of Freedom, then LOC feedback, LOC feedback, nearly forgot it myself, at VoFHQ.com. And that will be, we'll use that. May even start a weekly show on it to put your comments up and discuss any questions, queries, or concerns that you may have, because we need to communicate about this. We need to talk it through and find out what the hell is going on. Let me just have a bit of a scan down, see what we're seeing here. I can see we've got the odd troll in again tonight. Can't see too much in here. Anybody asking? You're all having a great chat, though. That's bloody great. I love that we've got such a great chat family, and the trolls just get ignored, or I've got to have a word to our admins, and we might get a little stricter on the trolls. They're not entertaining. They're not. I mean, if they're funny, if they can be funny, then I'm prepared to live with that. But if they bring nothing except spit and vitriol, just ban them. Couldn't be bothered with them, and why bother giving them any airtime? I certainly won't. Okay, you're all having a great chat. I'll just leave that there. What else have I got to show you tonight? There are some interesting headlines floating around. Sweden got it right, as it turns out. Freedom ended up being the best way to go forward during the pandemic. They had the least amount of problems with just about everything, including infection. Who figured that out, I wonder? What a surprise. So the Swedish plan, which was do nothing, live in the cold, keep your life going. Keep your life going. Keep your business going. That all seemed to work. That was pretty good. Now, you know that we've been talking about superannuation. And if you have superannuation and you might be feeling a little shaky about it, Cass from Freedom Financial Services is the lady to talk to. You can email me, Carl, at vofhq.com if you're interested in getting your super out, a big super, and getting a self-managed super fund. You can turn your super money into gold, silver, or any other precious metal, and any other good investment, real estate potentially as well. Cass is the lady to talk to about all of that if you are at all interested in getting your stuff out. Why might you be interested in getting your money out of the banks? Now, this was a few days ago, but the super boffins are spending in excess of $2.5 billion of members' money annually on top end of town fund managers. Now, where do they get this? Well, they charge you fees that the experts say are too high by world standards. Now, official stats show that over the last 8 years to 2022, super funds streamed $18.2 billion from retirement savers to fund their managers, part of a $45.3 billion bonanza enjoyed by an army of administrators, consultants, lawyers, and other service providers hired by the sector. Last year, just one investment manager, IFM Investors, owned by a union and employed-controlled industry super funds, collected $412 million in fees from its hundreds of clients. Now, experts are starting to question whether super funds are getting value for members' money when they pay external fund managers to direct investments rather than taking care of the service in-house. They say reducing fees, which average about 1% of super balances, is more urgent than the Albanese government's proposal to enshrine a purpose for super in legislation, something that Treasurer Jim Chalmers last month said he would enable more investment in the nation-building projects. Bullshit. 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 They are raping your super money, folks. God almighty. Albanese, the bastard can barely speak. I have taken some video, but I haven't sucked it down. Of course, today Albanese has brought up the question for the Voice Referendum that's coming up. I would give you the actual terminology, but you don't really need to know it. The only thing you need to know is no. You do not want to vote for the voice. You do not want to approve it. The answer is no. Why is it no? And particularly for our black brothers and sisters, our Indigenous cousins, the reason that you in particular have to vote no for this is because all the corporate Aborigines were lined up behind him today when he made this announcement. All of them. They're happy to sell you out because they're going to get the payoff. You won't. What is the sellout, you may ask? Well, our First Nations people are the stumbling block in the New World Order's plans. Because they are First Nations people, they are not covered under the 1901 Constitution, which I personally feel is not worth wiping your backside on, but we do have to start somewhere. Now, our Aboriginal brethren, our Torres Strait Islander brethren, are not covered under any of that. And that makes them outside of the contract. Okay? If you knew and fully understood Magna Carta 1215, you would be able to prosecute these bastards. There would be no need for land rights. You own it all. They have to give it to you. You just need to know how to do it. And unfortunately, you've got some corporate Aborigines who are acting in your best interests. Bullshit. Vote no. Vote no for the Aboriginal, the voice in Parliament. It will remove all your rights. It will remove your last protections of your land, and the government will gain full control over it and you. Forget Mabo. Gone. If you vote yes to this, the voice vote, this referendum, you will be signing away your own land to an international corporation. That's what this vote means. Don't be confused by any other bullshit that the government or the opposition or anybody in Parliament will tell you, much less any of those lobbyists, any of those bastards that are selling you out, that stood behind that fake Prime Minister of ours today while he sobbed his way through this message about the vote. And the wording of the question. Fuck the question, fuck the wording. Just vote no. Black, white, brindle, it doesn't matter. Vote no. This isn't going to help Aboriginal land rights. This is going to take them from you. All of them. Do not be confused. The corporate Aborigines are in charge. They're looking after themselves. They're all standing up there behind Albanese today, and they've got minions behind them, remember, who aren't standing on the stage, but are equally well-versed in the powers and equally well-versed in what's really going on here. And they're going to come and throw money at you. They're going to come and try and bribe you to vote yes. Please don't. Please don't. You will be signing away your own rights. You will be signing away your culture. You will be signing away everything that you value by voting yes in this referendum. We cannot let that happen. I don't care what colour Australian you are. You cannot let that happen. The corporate takeover would be complete, 100%. And do not for 1 second think that those royalty checks that you get now will keep coming if this yes vote is successful, because they will end as soon as the voice is instigated. Why? Well, they don't have to pay royalties on land they own. Well, they will. They'll pay it to themselves. But they don't have to pay it to you for the land you used to own until you voted yes. So think about it. Investigate it. Do your own research. Don't just believe me. I'm just a whitey who, thinks he's trying to do the right thing by people. Go and research it yourself. Look deeply into it. And don't listen to the black fella who's come from the government to tell you it's all good. Because that bastard is going to take your rights off you, take all your royalty checks off you, and leave you where you sit. That's what'll happen. The Voice is the most dangerous thing to have happening in this country at any time. But right now, the division, there doesn't need to be division on this. This should be a very easy choice. If you truly understand what they are asking, that slurring piece of shit that we call Prime Minister today stood up and stumbled and cried his way through a few lines that he tried to make sound really simple. That's all we're asking. Nothing more, nothing less. Bullshit. Investigate the ramifications of a yes vote, a successful yes vote. Look what it really means for our First Nations people, because it does mean stripping them of all their land. No more royalty checks. No more nothing. You'll be just another slave like us on the land working for the man, or getting what you can out of him because you can't work. That's the plan, Jan. It's that simple. Nothing more, nothing less. Albanese, you scum. Makes me sick, really does. Really, really, really does. Florida is warning patients they could suffer a heart attack now if they have the jibbity jab. That's a couple of days old as well. I think I got that maybe last week, and I've been meaning to get it to you. It hasn't quite worked out that way, but it's certainly true, and it's nice to see that at least warnings are now being given. Will that be used as some kind of a defence for informed consent? Yeah, who knows? I don't know. I've spoken a couple of times about the Gold Coast last night and my place last night. One of the speakers who got up last night was a lady named Michelle. Now, Michelle is about 2'7" and looks like a dynamo. I got to tell you, she is very motivated about one thing. And, well, the thing last night was HOTA, Home of the Arts, the Gold Coast Home of the Arts. Have you heard about HOTA, folks? Maybe you've seen their little mascot sculpture out the front. Now, that monstrosity has been erected at a cost of some, I think it was tens of thousands, might have been $70,000, I think, to the front of the HOTA Gallery on the Gold Coast. The artist's name is Ramesh. Now, you would see some similarities to the red face, of course, off the Wilson volleyball from Castaway. And then, of course, the print that they've used on their adrenochrome merchandise. You've seen Ellen DeGeneres and others wearing that white hoodie with the face on it. You'll also see that there is a blue baby being held there upside down. Now, interestingly enough, Michelle informed us last night that at night that baby slowly turns red. I don't know, symbolizing it's being cooked. This is satanic in every sense. And if you were doubting it, all you needed to really do is go and look up this artist's other work. This artist, who the Gold Coast City Council sponsored into a primary school for, I don't know if it was a week's worth of art education to primary school children. This is a bloke who likes to draw penises in all his artwork, or if he can't do that, maybe tortured babies. There are both in other work, in all his other work. Now, folks, I don't know if you have a Home of the Arts in your town, but I can tell you that I've seen the one in Hobart as well. And the satanic filth that goes on there is beyond most good people's taste and imagination. And yet, every year they hold a satanic festival down there in Tasmania. And Hobart in Tasmania, or Mona, or something they call it, is the epicenter for all sick things for that week. And my God, do they have some sick things. In fact, they have a vagina display. They have all sorts of bloodied crosses displayed. They usually have a live art installation. I think the fella in charge of it, who got a big payout some years ago and has just decided to spend all his money doing this horrid shit, he buried himself under a Hobart Street, I think it was, last year, might have been the year before. Unfortunately, after 4 days, he got back out again. He's also slaughtered cows on the steps of Parliament, I think, or wanted to at least. And no, I'm pretty sure they let him do it. That may, you might have to do a little bit of research on that one. But I seem to recall he certainly wanted to slaughter cows there. Whether or not he got away with it or not, I have a sneaking suspicion he did. The installations that go into that art hall, if you like, down in Hobart, not always satanic, but there is always some satanic reference in there. When they have the satanic festival, of course, the whole place just goes, completely devil worship. Something to stay away from. The Gold Coast one has to go. I've heard people with all sorts of ideas on how to get rid of it. The government, the local government, the council, who made the decision to put this up. Now, the money didn't necessarily come from council. It came from a Melbourne arts organisation, right? But they needed to get it on the Gold Coast. So to get it on the Gold Coast, it had to be put up to council. Somebody on council put it up to council. Who? And what members on the council authorised that piece of shit to signify what should be, and they advertise as a full family fun area? Seriously, Tom Tate, what are you doing? Well, there are a lot of suggestions about what you are doing, Tom. Some say there are pictures too. We'll have to wait and see. But, mate, what's going on there? Which councillors approved that particular design to be put at the forefront of the Gold Coast Home of the Arts? I don't expect an answer. Council hasn't given one to the people who've been asking now for months. But I do know that there is a very, very large movement of people who want to see it removed. And if council aren't going to talk about it, well, I don't know. Some of these people just might take it into their own hands to remove it themselves and bugger the charges. A jury trial is never going to convict people, I wouldn't think, after seeing the monstrosity and the artist's other artwork. But council has the opportunity here to step up and do the right thing, to show leadership, to acknowledge the distaste that this is giving the community, their community, the people that voted for them. And if they don't give the people that voted for them the due consideration, then guess what? My place, Gold Coast, has arrived. And in a little bit of time, there will be people who rise to the surface in that organisation that want to work for the people. And come next council elections, guess what? You will get a bunch of real Gold Coast doers on the council. And the first order of business will be decapitating that piece of shit artist work out the front of Hobart and dragging it down the bloody street to the Burleigh tip, where it deserves to be thrown. A disgusting piece. I have seen worse, but I've never seen anything that bad on the Gold Coast. Although I have seen some pretty awful things on the Gold Coast. There is a whole heap of awful shit that goes on the Gold Coast. Most people don't, thankfully, get to see that. But young people should be very careful. If you don't live on the Gold Coast, if you're not a Gold Coast local, and you think going to the Gold Coast and the nightclubs and all that's all what it's meant to be. I know it used to be. Back in your parents' day and my day, they were great places to hang out, but they're very different places these days, owned by very different people. And there can be very different outcomes to drunken fights and, just youth being youth on a good night out. Gold Coast can have life-changing consequences to young drunks. People need to be very aware of that when they go out. It was one of my biggest fears when Laura first started living with me on the Gold Coast, and she just turned 18. The thing that people need to remember when they go out on the Gold Coast and go to the nightclubs and all that is that every criminal in Australia with a reasonable record cannot go overseas for a holiday. So where do you think they come when they have a holiday? They come to Queensland. A lot of them go to the Gold Coast. A lot of them have friends in Gold Coast clubs. You can figure out the clubs I'm talking about. And a lot of those clubs own a lot of those nightclubs. So where do you find them? You find them dressed in their civvies, sitting up against a bar somewhere. You say something smart, just drunks being drunks, but you say something smart to the wrong person, you can wind up in a very nasty place. And it happens all the time. Don't think it doesn't. So kids, beware. All is not as it seems on the Gold Coast, and especially with an evil bastard council like the one they've got who allow this kind of shit to be paid for by the people and be displayed at the front of what is meant to be one of the Gold Coast's main family tourist attractions. What are you thinking, you pathetic bunch of fuckers? Seriously. Donna Gates, are you still part of the bloody council there? Fuck me. Love to know what Bill thinks about this. Donna is married to a wonderful old radio bloke. I hope Bill's still with us. But he was pretty sick a few years ago. Maybe he'd be rolling in his grave. I don't know. Not even sure Donna's still part of council. Don't want to blame her for it, but my God, Donna, if you are, need to seriously reevaluate what's going on in your world. What else have I got on my list of things here? I don't think I've got too much else. I wasn't expecting to have as big a bitch about that as I really was. Maybe I should have done it like that. At least it looks like I'm smiley and happy. Could have been a bit better. Thank you again, Danny. So my place. Get one at your place, folks. It's a bloody great thing, particularly if you've got an evil friggin' council that does shit like that. The only way you're going to get rid of those evil bastards who've bluffed you into getting elected into that position is by finding people at my place. People who are doers, people who will work for the community and put community above themselves and their own families. They will make decisions for the betterment of all of us. And you will find those people in my places around Australia. And you will find in time, those my places will develop local council teams. That'll be people who are interested in wanting to step up and wanting to represent, but they'll have to prove that they will do that if they're appointed by working through my place. Show by example, lead by example, and those folks will become your new councillors. Those are the ones who will tear down those sorts of monstrosities, and those folks are the kinds of people that will make sure something like, that piece of horrendous shit that the Gold Coast have allowed to be put up in front of the Arts Centre there is never made again. You need those people, and that's what my place is all about, folks. So please, when you have the opportunity to go to my place, check it out. All right, just go in, open-minded, check it out. Have a conversation with a bunch of strangers. You will find, I've been to a few of them now, and you will find, being a stranger at every one of them that I've been to, you are just welcomed. And okay, you'll say, oh, that's because it's you, Carl. No, it's not. I brought somebody else with me to a couple of these events. They are welcomed exactly the same. I even tested the you go in first, I'll wait and come in later. And nothing changed. He was welcomed in with open arms, hugs. That's how my place works, hugs. And there are a lot of people who've been to Canberra, who were there in Canberra, and who are happy to keep not just the memory of Canberra alive, but keep working to the solution for all of us. So if you haven't got a My Place near you, start one. It only takes a Facebook page. My Place, whatever town you're in, whatever suburb you're in. Get a hold of My Place Frankston. Get a hold of Jackie, who is one of the admins of My Place Frankston, and she will give you paperwork to give you an idea of how to hold your first meeting. It's pretty simple. Okay, Darren's got all that information too. If you can't get a hold of them for some reason, email me at carl@vofhq.com, and I think I've got it all somewhere on a computer somewhere. I might be able to email you at least an idea of how you should have your first night. Your first night is a get to know you, right? It's just a matter of getting up. If you've got people who are, a common law group, or if you've got a lady like Michelle last night whose interest was in that obscenity on the Gold Coast, then sure, get them up. All right. But it's not a night for 20-minute speeches. It's a night for 3-minute introductions. This is what I'm about. If you'd like to learn more about it, come over and talk to me after, everybody's had its say. And that's where the mingling starts. Don't go and bring 8 of you and all sit on one table together and just discuss it amongst yourselves. After the speeches, get off your bums, get around to the other tables of 8, and you'll find that you will share seats. People will come and introduce themselves. You'll start conversations. You'll learn new things. You'll get a different page of the book. Whether it's one behind you or 10 ahead of you, it doesn't matter. You'll be able to help the person who's 1 or 2 or 10 pages behind you, and the person who's 10 or 20 or 100 pages ahead of you will be able to help you. That whole table's knowledge lifts then, doesn't it? So that's what this is about. My Place is information sharing and communication, and unity through community. That's what it's all about, folks. Unity through community. So come, please be part of it. We would love to have a My Place in Brisbane. In fact, John is so motivated after his time last night at My Place on the Gold Coast that he is starting work on it today. He's going to try and find somewhere that we can call our own. So that would mean a premise that needs to be rented. Now, whether that's going to be a shop front or a warehouse or whatever remains to be seen. And I'm sure in the fullness of time, we will get this started. Keep looking for, he may have even started it today, I'm not sure. Facebook, go to Facebook and check out My Place Brisbane. And you might find that there is a rotten old pirate running that. And we're looking for a place to have our first meeting. I think we might have found that place, and I'll bring you details of that in the coming days and weeks. Well, probably more days rather than weeks. Frazzle Drip. Hello, the Galacticricans. Yes, Frazzle Drip much indeed. That's exactly what that red-faced piece of bloody horrid shit at Hota symbolises. For those of you who are wondering what the Galacticricans are speaking about. To Galacticlarican number 2, have a safe drive tomorrow, buddy, and call me when you get close. That would be the word. Having a bit of a scan through just before I finish up, folks, and seeing if there's any great questions for me. Hey, Camillo, good to see you in, mate. Tom Tate needs a kick up the clacker, all right, mate. I'm disgusted in Tommy. I lived on the Gold Coast for a long time, worked in radio on the Gold Coast for a long time. I didn't have a huge amount to do with local government. My best mate on the Gold Coast, his missus worked for a councillor in local government. It made her sick so badly that eventually she just quit the job and bailed because of the personal politics that gets played by these councillors. These councillors, particularly, I believe, not just on the Gold Coast, but in any larger market, just think their shit doesn't stink. They think and I guess to a lot of extent, they do have a great deal of power. That has to change. They cannot wield power with impunity. I mean, for those of you who are on Twitter, you might be able to give me a help here. I've recently been doing the only tweeting I've ever done in my life to Jeremy Clarkson. Now, I'm keen to get Jeremy Clarkson on the show for a chat about a number of things, but councils and the problem that he's having with councils in his area over farming issues and him trying to be able to get the farm into a state where he can turn a profit is very similar to some issues that I know some of our farmers are facing. And in fact, there is a lot of cottage industry that was available to our farmers at one point, but now has been outlawed by local council and state government. And there is certainly some interesting laws going around about the killing of animals on people's properties too. So if you happen to grow beef or sheep or pork and you catch and kill your own, that's going to come to an end if it hasn't already done so. So these are things we will be discussing in greater detail in the not too distant future, because I have a sneaking suspicion that it is all to do with, it's all going to be tied back into this Codex Alimentarius Commission. How do you spell Alimentarius? Alimentarius. Codex, C-O-D-E-X. Alimentarius. Or Menteras. No, it'd be I. Terius. Absolutely stinking bloody agreement, and I'm still trying to find the details of that actual agreement. But that is the website, the foodstandards.gov.au site, where you can find out all about the Codex, the international peer reviews of our dietary modelling practices. This was supposedly started in 1963 as a way for the UN and the World Health Organization to make sure that the quality of food that humans were getting was good and that there was enough of it to feed the world. 1963 that started. How many people are starving every year in Africa and God knows how many other places? So these bastards haven't got that together so far in 50 years. Why would you give them another go? Why would you even contemplate thinking that they should be allowed to give it another go? 50 years, and all they've successfully done is keep people starving in many parts of the world. Does that indicate to you a government or an agency that's working for the people or working for the cabal? I think you know the answer to that one, folks. You're pretty smart. I'll leave you on that note tonight. I hope you've had a great day. Tomorrow is going to be pretty cool. I'm really looking forward to getting the Australian log of claims out for you, and looking forward to catching up with John tomorrow. It should be an interesting show. Now, just be aware, I'm not sure what channels you are watching on. So if we wind up doing a little live tomorrow and I don't have a laptop with me, then it will come from a new toy that I have, and it will only go on Nun2K. It's on the YouTube channel Nun2K. I'm not sure if I can do multiple streams from this new toy. So if it can't, it will only go on the Nun2K channel, which is the main YouTube channel. I will copy it or download it and upload it to Rumble later, if at all possible, or who knows, we might even do two. If it's not a very wet day, I'll take a laptop, because where we're going to be will be outside, and I can project a little camera, but I can't really do much about a very expensive laptop. So it'll just depend on what sort of day happens. If it's a normal day, then I'll do up a live, and we'll see at lunch or somewhere after lunch maybe. It'll be a good day. Be safe on the roads, folks. Plenty of dickheads out there. And if it's raining, odds are it's slippery too.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up.
Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life.
It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back.
Does anybody else want to stay?
Let's rock!